just barely missed it. Doggone it. Well, we're going to finish it off anyway. And I'm finishing off with 2 layers of commercial grade vinyl. Here we go. What a beautiful running machine this is. And if you know anything about commercial grade vinyl, man oh man is it easy to have it skip a stitch, especially when you're doing 2 layers like this. And that is just a spectacular stitch. Lock stitch is great, top stitch is phenomenal as well. You know, it just didn't miss a beat. And I'll revisit some of the sew-offs I just did just to describe to you what it is. Again, this is a commercial grade vinyl, 2 layers. Very, very difficult to get through this stuff. It really resists the needle. It's designed for high traffic areas, sofas and other things like that you might see in a commercial setting, and it just did a spectacular job. And here we had this, it's basically a towing strap. It's very, very difficult to get through. It has a tensile strength of about 2,000 pounds, and this 301 just zipped through it. That's our lock stitch right there. Just a phenomenal stitch. And here we had, actually I should do this one first. Here we had a single layer of genuine cowhide, and it just laid down a gorgeous stitch, both the top and the lock stitch as well. So I was really, really pleased with how it presented that stitch. And you know what, 301s, 301As, they're almost from the same mold. They're known for laying down gorgeous stitches. I mean, after all, this is the big sister to the Featherweight. And that's how this machine kind of grew into existence, was an answer to a lot of the petitions that were being made by the sewers of the day, saying, you know what, we love the Featherweight, but we want it to be able to sew at a heavier grade level. And here we've got those 2 layers of genuine cowhide, and you know what, there's just no doubt at all as to what this 301 did with this 2 layers of genuine cowhide. You can look at it again from the end, and it just did a spectacular job, both with the lock stitch and by all means with that top stitch as well. So I'm really pleased, whether it's the 2 layers of genuine cowhide, that single layer that we just kind of warmed the machine up with, this this towing strap, which I mean is ridiculous as far as getting through it, the piercing threshold, and it just buzzed through it like it was no big deal. And then at last, this commercial grade vinyl, 2 layers of it. This 301 just knocked it out of the park. It did a phenomenal job with all of these sew-offs. And maybe it was the banjo music, maybe again, like the 185s back when I gave those away. Maybe it's the music that inspires this machine to greatness. Although, you know what? Who can I fool in this audience at this premiere? You guys know what I pour into machines. And this 301, the big sister, the Featherweight, is no exception. And what I'm trying to highlight is, again, that when properly restored, a 301 like this, that has a, basically it maxes out at 0.6 amps, the same size as a 201, the same size as the 1591, and it's direct drive like those 2 machines as well. It can do sewing at a level that would just make most people's heads spin totally. And not to mention, you guys are really smart and real knowledgeable about the machines that I present on this channel. You know as well that this machine is a slant needle. And I'm going to go around the machine a little bit and just kind of show you the lay of the land and tell you a little bit about this machine as well. So some of you may already know, after World War II, and I'm going to come out on this shot a little bit. Okay, that's a really good shot of this 301. And if you don't know already, it's got a short bed that can fold up or down as you see fit. Typically folded up when you're putting it into your carrying case, and folded down when you're wanting to sew. And there is a longer bed version of this as well, but you know what? I really haven't found that extra 2.5 to 3 inches that beneficial. But you know, some people are real particular about it, just like they're particular about the color beige versus black, or black versus beige when it comes to this particular machine model. So back to what I was starting to say, after World War II, basically 1939 to 1945, most sewing machine manufacturers were marketing the same machines they had prior to the war. So Singer had their models 9913, 128, 6618, 1588, 1591, 201, 221, and then this machine kind of grew out of that around 1946, and it was patented by the Singer Manufacturing Company specifically on the 5th of February 1946. So after all those other predecessors had been in the marketplace, they kind of faded as the war erupted, and then they basically resurrected again after the war. Then all of a sudden you had this 301 kind of pop into the scene. And as I said before, the 301 and the 301A are both can both boast, my tongue is tied a little bit today, can both boast of being the first slant shank model ever made by Singer. So this machine was really the precursor to all the other machines that I'm going to introduce to you in this video. I think that's bragging rights when you can say, you know what, we're the first. It's true even in the business realm. When a business can say, you know what, there's a lot of innovations and a lot of evolutions that have occurred since we introduced, and you can finish the sentence, but we were the first. And they found that in spite of other companies that try to catch that company that was the first in the marketplace, being able to declare we were the first ones to do this before anyone, it's nearly impossible, no matter how many marketing dollars those other companies pump into it, no matter how many clever ads they do, no matter how many jingles they create. It's almost impossible for them to catch that company that was the first. And Singer really stepped into the marketplace with this slant needle concept with this 301 and also with the 301A. So it was really tough for any other machine to shine as bright, even as others tried to copy it. And even within the ranks of Singer, they developed other models, as I'll introduce to you shortly, that modeled that same engineering concept. And let me answer something that I've answered a million times in emails, in phone calls, you name it. People have reached out and said, what's the story on the slant needle? Why did they develop that? You know, as you look down at the needle here, you can see right away that that presser foot attachment is different. It's got an angular look to it, and that's to accommodate that slant needle innovation that Singer came up with. Why did they do it? Why? Well, my answer to that, after a lot of research, a lot of digging, is number one, not everyone's going to agree with what I have to say, but in essence, it was to give better visibility down at the needle. It's the same reason that they came up with the innovation of moving the tension control. You know, right here you've got the tension control on the front of this 301, and then you've got a slant needle version. When they looked at developing the 1591, they moved that tension control to the faceplate. It's kind of an interesting question. As they developed this slant needle and they innovated it to make visibility at the needle better, why didn't they do both? Why didn't they move this tension control to the faceplate and give you a slant needle, the best of both worlds? I don't have an answer to that. And if any of you want to dig into that a little bit more and see if you can find an answer, I'll send you something special if you post it alongside of this video on Facebook. Because that would be a great question. If we could somehow dig into the mind of Isaac Singer, why didn't you do both? You changed it on the 1591 with the tension going to the faceplate. You developed this innovation of this slant needle in 1946. What's up? Why didn't you do both? So, and moving on a little bit more, I'm going to come out on this shot again on this 301. You know, basically, this machine kind of started at a brand new factory in Anderson, South Carolina. So if anyone watching this video is from South Carolina, you can give a little hoo-hoo, because the 301, the very first slant needle that Singer ever developed, started in your neck of the woods in South Carolina. And they rolled out between 1952 and 1957 at this factory both the black and the beige 301s and 301As. And you know, as you keep hearing me say this over and over again, the 301, the 301A, you might be saying, well, oh, whoa, brakes on, Scott. What is the difference between those two models? Well, as models continue to develop over the years, there's slight little tweaks here and there. But in essence, these models are all but identical. And even as I did some additional research to prepare for this premiere, what I found is, you know what, you're not going to get a complete agreement. Even as you go to a great site like Ismax, you know, they're going to say, well, you know, there might be little tweaks here or there. You know, this particular 301 in this realm of the machine right here, where some models, if you lift this cover, have a Teflon style worm gear that drives that balance wheel. This particular model, they changed it to a metal one, which historically, and you can watch some videos where I will say, the 401, the 401A is the only model in that slant needle family that can brag of having a worm gear made out of metal versus Teflon. Well, as I go through machines, hundreds of machines, and I restore them, I'm constantly surprised by one of those statements all of a sudden finding a contradiction. And I found it in this 301, where that drive gear, that worm gear to the balance wheel is made out of metal. So that is some of the little tweaking they did as they went through the 301 phases, the 301A phases. They messed around with changing things that are sometimes not apparent because they're out of view. And you might also be saying, okay, Scott, you said that this is the big sister to the Featherweight. What's it made out of, and how does it differ in weight with that very prized Princess of Singers, the 221? Well, there's not a big weight difference between this 301 and the 221. You're looking at about 5 pounds. The Featherweight can boast of being 11 pounds, and this 301, which is a full-size machine versus the half-size Featherweight, only comes in at a whopping 16 pounds. You know, that's less than the weight of a gallon of milk. A gallon of milk's around 8 pounds. We're talking about a 5-pound difference between the 301 and the Featherweight. I think that's significant. You know, a lot of folks will go to the Featherweight because they want to take it to quilting retreats, quilting expos and that, and they say it's so easy, it's so light. Well, 5 pounds, is that going to really hurt anybody? I doubt it. Now, the other thing I want to point out about this 301 with its roots to the 221 is it uses the very same bobbin and the very same bobbin carrier. You can even take your cues on this machine, and I've got it upside down, of course. Do I? No, I don't. I've got it right side up. Duh. No, I don't. I do have it upside down. Oh my goodness. Not enough coffee today, folks. You can even take your cues from this manual, whether it's upside down or right side up, as to how to thread this machine and how to orientate that needle. But here's the great news about this 301, if I can get in the right area. The great news about this 301 is you cannot put that needle in wrong. When you try to slide that needle in and you put the flat side to the right, you're not going to get the needle in. You've got to flip it around and put that flat side to the left. And when you thread this machine, you're going to thread it from right to left, just like a Featherweight. And threading this machine, talking about that, is super easy. You come off the back of the machine, you go through thread guide number 1, thread guide number 2. I love the way they kind of cradle it in the middle there, and it just kind of runs down the middle of that. You go down to your tension control, and you're going to go through your discs. You're going to come over that take-up spring, and then you're going to come behind this thread guide up to the take-up arm, all the way back down through that thread guide there. Let me zoom in. Through that thread guide, and don't you dare miss this thread guide right there. That's right above the needle. And then you're going to slide that needle in which way? The only way you can. You're going to slide it in with the flat side to the left, and then you're going to finally thread this 301 from right to left. How much easier could they make it? And I think that's a great feature, because a lot of the Singer machines, as you put that thread, as you try to put that needle in and then eventually thread the machine, that needle can pivot in that needle clamp area, and all of a sudden when you orientated that flat side perfectly, it all of a sudden shifts on you, and you get all kinds of wonky things that happen. So I think it's brilliant designing it so you can only put it in one way. Okay, totally, let's leave this 301, which, by the way, as I mentioned in a Facebook post, is for sale. This is one of my personal machines from my collection, and you can make it your own, which I think is totally awesome. Now, what do we have going on this workbench over here? Well, all the way on the right, you have a 401A. In the middle, you have a 403, and all the way on the right, you have the machine which is most close in its design features and its sewing capacity. You have the 404. The 404 is a straight stitch only machine, and I'll kind of zoom in on that a little bit so you can get a closer look at it. And then you have right in the middle here, you've got the 403, which is going to have cam capacity and also deliver a zigzag and a straight stitch. All these machines are going to have the same motors. They're all vertically mounted, if you max them, 0.6 amp motors. Same size as the Rolls-Royce of Singer's, the 201, same size as the 1591. And again, because these are direct drive, right from the motor, you're going to be driving to that balance wheel and then down the shaft to the needle. These all have the same benefit of that burst of power that the coveted 201 and the 1591 have as well. And then finally on the far left, you've got the 401, which is a totally cool machine as well, and is going to also give you that cam capacity also. These machines are also going to share the same attribute of, if you want to do freehand type embroidery, you're not going to drop feed dogs on this 404 or this 403 or this 401. What you're going to do instead is you're going to, and I'll have to walk over to the machine to demonstrate it for you, you're going to raise the throat plate on this machine. And you can either do it at a mid-range, or you can pop it all the way up so that this plate is actually loose. And that's how you're going to be able to do freehand embroidery, or be able to free yourself of the pull of those feed dogs. And all three of these models, in that respect, are identical. You've got the throat plate raise on the 401, the 403, and finally, no, it's not all the way over there, Scott, you silly guy, the 404. And this is the control to do that right here. You just basically push that lever to the left. You have a mid-range point where you can have that float plate kind of throat plate, excuse me. Did I say float plate? That's actually a new word. I've just developed a brand new word. If I said that before, now I'm going to patent it, just like this machine was patented what year? 1946, the 301. So as you slide this lever to the left, you can make that throat plate rise, and if you go to the midsection, you're going to be able to sew. If you push it all the way to the left, you're going to be able to release it and then clean out all the lint and junk that gets caught in that space underneath the needle. But all three of these machines, I'm going to zoom out again, all three of these machines are going to have the same style of sewing, the slant needle. They're all going to have similar lighting systems. They're all going to be able to do freehand embroidery by raising that throat plate. You're going to be able to open the face plate on all of these as well. You're going to have the same stitch range, anywhere from 6 stitches per inch all the way down to 30 stitches per inch. They're all going to have nearly identical body styles. You know, there's a couple of new doodads that was put on the 401 as you can make different cam access points, both cams that you can insert and also engineered cams in the machine. So it has both best of the worlds. If you don't have cams for the 401, no worries. You can still sew a wide range. And if you want more details on this model, I've presented it a number of times on this YouTube channel, so you can look it up and just get a better feel for what the 401 and the 401A can do. Same thing with the 403 and the same thing with the 404 as well, which again, the 404 is the oddball like the 301 in that it does not have that cam capacity and it's a straight stitch only machine. So, and if I go closer on some of these machines, you can just kind of look at the lay of the land. It's going to have the same bobbin winding feature right here, where it kind of comes out away from the body, and then when you're not using it, you can tuck it back into the body again so that it's out of the way. I think that's a totally cool feature on the 404, the 403, and also the 401. And there's other models within this slant needle family as well, and you can certainly find those on my channel also. But I wanted to at least show you these machines along with the feature machine, this 301, so you could see the common ground that a lot of these slant needle machines share. Also, so that you could see in the opening to this video what the capacity of this 301 is. A lot of people, when they think of the Featherweight, when they think of the big sister to the Featherweight, which is this 301, and the 301A is no different, they immediately think, okay, this is a lightweight sewing machine. I'm not going to be able to do anything hardcore with it. Well, again, as you saw in the intro to this video, that's absolutely a myth. You can sew leather with this machine. You can do vinyl. You can do upholstery grade, commercial grade vinyl. You can do this towing strap type material, which is another type of a nylon product as well, obviously. There's really no boundaries on this machine. And especially when you look at a direct drive machine with a metal worm gear that is not going to be susceptible to wearing out or kind of dulling a little bit, like the nylon versions that are sometimes seen in these slant needle machines. I mean, you're only limited by your imagination and your passion to push that machine as far as you can possibly go. And so, you know, as you look at this machine as a possible one to add to your collection, or maybe as your first machine, you can certainly push it to the limit. And again, like I've said to my friends in the UK that say, well, why do you sew leather all the time? It's to demonstrate the power. I mean, this machine, I didn't even get close to pushing it to its max. And it went through 2 layers of genuine cowhide, like brrr, no problem. And you saw all the other sew-offs as well, and you can always rewind that video or re-watch it and just remind yourself what the big sister of the Featherweight is capable of doing. It's mind-blowing. But again, as I've said in other videos, that is not the case with all 301s or all 301As, or certainly not all 401s or 403s or 404s. When you buy a machine from this workbench, you immediately know that that machine is going to be, it's going to be like it has superpowers. I've shared this in other videos with you. I've had folks reach out to me that used to work at the Singer plant or would go house to house like a Fuller brush man and sell a lot of the machines that you've seen on this channel door to door. and then they would offer it to that buyer as an installment option where they would pay on that machine up to 3 years. I've had those people reach out to me and say, Scott, I used to work at the Singer plant, the one that is out in Anderson, South Carolina, back in the day. And what I see your machines doing, whether it's this 301 or the 401 or the 403 or the 404 and the 503 and all of these machines that I've shown on my channel, you've shown that you can raise the bar even from birth. And if you restore that machine properly, it will outperform machines that I was presenting to customers straight from the factory in their homes as I was selling it to them on an installment plan. And this is a very affordable machine too. And if you have an interest in finding out more, reach out to me. Contact me directly through email or through Facebook, and I would love to tell you more about this machine and ultimately present it as your machine and then send it to you, ship it out to you wherever you might be. And again, I will ship worldwide. I don't emphasize that enough. I've shipped machines as far away as Australia, Japan, Canada, Germany. I've shipped them all over the world. So if you live out in California, no worries. If you live on the East Coast, you might even live in South Carolina, no worries. I will get that machine to you, and you can begin enjoying this incredible machine, which again weighs how much? 16 pounds compared to the Featherweight 221, which can only claim 11. And that's 11 pounds if you go bare bones on that Featherweight. So if you're looking for a lightweight machine that you can carry easily, and I'll show you something else that I failed to show you, but I have in previous videos. Singer wanted to make this so easy to carry that they even added a handle that's molded to the body of this machine. The Featherweight doesn't even have that. And then once you get done moving this from one sewing table to another, or getting it in position on your sewing table or at a quilting retreat, and you want to get to work on it, you just push it back down. But again, I want to emphasize that none of these machines that I've shown in this video are that heavy metal that a lot of people are fearful of. See my magnet? It's not responding because this is aluminum, just like the Featherweight. And yes, there's metal inside of the machine, but the shell of it, just like this 301, the 401, the 403, and the 404 that I already showed you, you're the only place you're going to get a reaction really is going to be down on the needle plate. And you can see if I move this camera, I've gotten a reaction from the magnet down here, but the rest of the machine, it's so light to carry, it's so light to lift, at 16 pounds, that you would just absolutely fall in love with this machine. And the same thing is true of these other machines that I already showed you. This 401 is actually a very lightweight machine because it's aluminum. The 403 and the 404. And these machines are available. These are from my personal collection as well. These are available for restoration as well. If you really have a love of cams, you could certainly look at the 403 or the 401. But again, with the 401, you've got cams actually engineered into that machine. I remember showing a 401 a couple months back that Janie had brought to me for a deep cleaning and a service. But you know what? If you just want a kick butt, if I can say that on this channel, a kick butt straight stitch machine, this 404 is a go-to machine. And by all means, this 301 is an incredible machine as well when it comes to delivering a straight stitch only, but making a huge impact when it comes to power because of that direct drive feature that all of these slant needle machines can boast of. So I'm probably getting pretty close to running out of either storage space or battery space, as I oftentimes do. But I wanted to make this video really an opportunity for you to see a number of different slant needle machines. But again, there's nothing like buying a model that can say, I was the first one that Singer ever made. And that's true of this 301. So if you're looking for a machine to add to your collection, if you're looking for your first sewing machine and you want it to be able to sew anything, this is your go-to machine right here. You just need to contact me and I will make this machine yours. So appreciate you guys so much. Watch for a video coming up soon where I am going to be presenting a contest opportunity in a very unique manner. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm going to be looking to Bill, my good friend Bill O'Rourke from Kissimmee, Florida, to be a partner with me in facilitating that contest. Might drag Donna in as well, because these are two of my most devoted followers that get involved with a lot of the stuff that I'm doing and step out of the shadows and post things and participate in the premieres. I know I have a lot of you that are devoted. Let me clarify that statement before I get myself in trouble. But a lot of you also, while you view the videos, while you're engaged in different things, you really don't step out like these two people have. And I would challenge you to do that. So again, God bless you guys. Watch for that contest opportunity coming up, and watch for more great videos like this. All right, thanks so much. And of course, wouldn't I be remiss if I didn't end this with a little bit of fun music? I think so. I think I'd be remiss. I might be remiss. Let's see what I can find here. Yeah, this is a fun one.